The worst capitalists in history.
This one's a doozy that involves two sets of capitalist assholes, so buckle up as we first explore the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church is actually written into Ireland's constitution. You can think of them as a combination of the judicial and legislative branch. If you were 7 years or older in Ireland, you could be incarcerated. Being that the church is essentially in charge of writing the laws and issuing the punishment, most of these laws go along their beliefs and are not what you and I would think of as normal laws. If you were a child that broke the law, you would go to a reform school run by the church. Nuns and priests are operating these prison-like reform schools. And what is the most common crime for a child being incarcerated in our story? Being born to a single mother. Starting in 1767, if a woman had a child out of wedlock, she was separated from the child, and both the child and mother would be sent to one of these institutions. The ones for the women were known as the Magdalene Laundromats. Individuals sent to these institutions were stripped of their names and given a number, had their heads shaved, they were beaten, and forced into labor. From one of the children sent to one of these institutions, quote, "There were beatings. I was abused physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually. If you were called to see the head nun, you knew what was coming to you. You'd have a bloody nose and a sore face." A woman named Mary spent 14 years at one of these institutions for stealing an apple. She escaped and found a priest who she asked for help. The priest ended up raping her, got her pregnant, and because she was having a child out of wedlock, she was sent back to one of these institutions. Even though they were legally obligated to keep records of things such as food given, deaths, pregnancies, transfers, very few records were ever actually taken. Because of this, it is hard to say exactly how many people died in these institutions, but every year more and more bodies are found. 796 babies were found in a septic tank. A mass grave of children was found in a hidden cave on one of the land. In one of the institutions, 75% of the children never even made it to the age of 1. Women were forced to provide services such as laundry and sewing with little to no pay, working 10 to 12-hour days. The church was getting paid for these services and typically not giving the women any of the money. Their compensation was bread and water. The most notable account of the Catholic Church, though, for these institutions? Hasbro Games. Hasbro, maker of games such as Mousetrap, Monopoly, Clue, Jenga, Life. It is at these Magdalene Laundromats that the women would assemble and package these games. Hasbro denies any knowledge of what happened at these institutions. And because they paid the nuns who did not typically pay the workers, they had plausible deniability. Plenty of anonymous sources of both Hasbro and these institutions, however, say that these were not wages, but mere pocket money that Hasbro was paying them. Still to this day, Hasbro is getting in trouble for contracting with sweatshops. It's estimated that 300,000 women went to these institutions, 9,000 children died, and the last one closed in 1996. Capitalism!